Hi, my name is Joe Daniel from footballdefense.com and from the Football Coaching Podcast. I want you to imagine having a defense that's prepared to stop literally any offense, any offensive formation, any offensive style that your opponent can throw at you. And imagine being ready to do that with less practice time, less meeting time than you're spending right now. In 2014, I had 107 coaches that were a part of my 4-2-5 defense e-course. It's a system of defense that teaches coaches how to do exactly that and maximize the abilities of your players that you have right now. You know, we're not in the NFL. We're not even most of us in college where we can recruit our guys. We've got who we've got. We've got to do the best that we can with them every single time. And the most important thing to making that happen is to keep it simple. So it's really easy to understand this concept. If you keep it simple, then your kids will be able to understand their jobs. When they truly understand those jobs, they're going to be confident in performing them. Confident kids play faster, and faster kids win more football games. That's just a fact. Speed kills. We all know that. So it's so important that we keep it simple. I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of football coaches on their offensive and defensive schemes, and the vast majority of them have needed simpler rather than more complex. They've needed to trim the playbook and make their assignments easier rather than making them more complex if they were going to win more football games. A couple weeks ago, I sent out a survey to our subscribers asking a few questions about defensive football and what coaches needed in order to run a better defense for their football team. We've got 291 responses from coaches around the world who responded with the things that they really needed. And there was one thing that really stood out, and that was alignment. And it was questions like, how can we align to the spread or the double wing or the wing tee or whatever, insert anything you want, empty formations, everything under the sun. It was, can you teach a defense that can align to any offense? And, yes, you should. If it's not true about your defense, then we're in trouble, because offensive coaches are constantly adapting and evolving to what we're doing defensively. Sometimes it feels like defensively we're playing catch up, and we've got to stop doing that. We've got to start being a step ahead of the game. If your defense right now is not able to go out on one weekend and defend, say, a hard-nosed downhill wing tee rushing attack coming right at you, and then turn around with minimal adjustment, minimal change, or really minimal practice time or anything, and turn around and defend a spread offense running a zone read. If your defense isn't ready to do that, then you could be in a lot of trouble, because that's what offensive coordinators are trying to do to us. Not only might you see it in back-to-back weeks, we even see it sometimes in the same game where a team will line up, in a power I one series, and then they'll come out in a spread the next series. Maybe they change quarterbacks, maybe they change some other things. And the most important thing is that our guys are ready to line up and defend whatever you throw at us, because we have a simple system of defensive football that keeps them prepared for that. And we have minimal practice time, minimal install, minimal new adjustments each week because of that. I remember a few years ago when I started studying the 4-2-5 defense and started trying to really learn everything I could about it to make our 4-2-5 defense great. Of course, I went to look at Texas Christian University, TCU's 4-2-5 defense and the things that they're doing there. We don't run the exact same defense that they run. We use a lot of the concepts, we use a lot of the terminology, and we should be, because Gary Patterson's defenses down at TCU have been in the top 10 in the country seemingly year after year after year for over a decade. And he's doing it with less talent a lot of times than some other coaches that he's playing against. And of course, that's what we're all trying to do, is maximize our talent. And if we have lesser talent and maximize it, we can beat more talented teams. Well, there was one thing that really stood out. It was a pre-snap checklist for their defensive players. And it's called ASKA, A-S-K-A. And this is going to show you the importance of alignment and of getting lined up properly in order to win on defense. And it starts with the A. We'll go ahead and put it all up here. It's A-S-K-A. And the A is alignment. Okay, alignment is all about your players knowing where to line up on any down. They know where they need to line up, whatever the offensive formation, whatever the situation, they know how to line up. And that's the very first thing, and I think that's important to note. The second one is stance. So we get in the right place, and then stance is how we line up. How are our feet positioned, how are our hands positioned, which hands down, or where our feet are inside or outside leverage. Then we go to key. And the key tells us where our eyes are looking. So we get to the right spot, we line up correctly with the right stance, and then our eyes are focused on a key somewhere that's going to tell us what to do. And that key is very consistent no matter what we're playing against. We're basically looking at the same thing over and over again. And so our key tells us where our eyes go. And then the last one is the assignment. And our assignment is going to be based on what our eyes tell us. So our eyes are going to see something happening with the offensive player that we're keying, and that's going to tell us our assignment. It's going to tell us how we react. That's going to tell us our read. And basically what this boils down to is this is defensive football. And each individual player has, on every down in every situation, a specific alignment, stance, key, and assignment. But to me, the big story here is the number one thing, the very first thing that you must do in order to be successful is to align correctly. If we don't align correctly, we can't make the play. I tell our guys all the time, you got to start right to finish right. You got to start right to finish right. I tell them in the weight room, if you're going to get a big max lift, big clean, you're going to have to start with your feet right, with your hands right, everything positioned right. On the offensive line, you want to make a big block, a crushing block, you got to start right with a great stance, great first step. And it's the same thing defensively. If you want to make big defensive plays, you've got to start right. You've got to be in the right place. You've got to be in the right stance. You've got to have your eyes in the right place. And then it comes down to reaction after that and reading your keys. But the number one thing is that alignment. With our 4-2-5 defense, our alignment rules are very simple, very consistent. They don't change much from week to week, from game to game, from formation to formation, anything like that. They don't change very much. Once we've got this defense in August in our camp, once we've got it installed, it's pretty consistent for the rest of the year. And I love that about the system that we're using with the 4-2-5 defense. So what I want to do now is I want to go to the board here and I want to show you how we can adapt and adjust to any offensive personnel grouping. And we can't align every single possible formation, but I can show you our basic rules and how we're going to align to pretty much any offensive formation that our guys can see, and we can get all this done in the first week, and no matter what we see, we're ready to defend it. All right, so now we're on the board. We're taking a look at our 4-2-5 defense, and we're going to start out against a basic 21 personnel. And just to make sure everybody's on the same page, our 21 personnel means the first number is 2 backs, so the first number is how many backs there are, and the second number is how many tight ends there are. So 21 personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end. In this situation, this is just a basic pro-eye formation, one that almost everybody sees. And I'll tell you this, I hear guys sometimes say, hey, we don't see anything but spread. Be patient, because it's going to come back around. It's come back around for us. I remember a few seasons ago, we saw nothing but spread. Now we're seeing more of a 50-50 or even more back to a power running game. This is a great place to start with our 4-2-5 defense. We play our best defensive lineman in a 3 technique shaded on the guard. Outside shade of the guard. We play a head-up 6 technique, defensive end on the strong side, and we can play him either head-up or you can play him inside shade in a 7, which is an inside shade technique. But he's primarily C-gap responsible. I like the head-up because he can help more on the reach if he gets an outside run play too. We play a shaded nose on the weak side, just a weak shade, what we call a 1 technique out here. This is our best defensive lineman on the strong side. Our strong end's probably our next best true defensive lineman. Our nose can be another good defensive lineman if we have him, but if we're running out of him, we can use a shooter type guy there. We can use a wrestler there. In our weak side end, I like to use a guy who, quite honestly, didn't quite win the strong safety or weak safety job or a linebacker job. I like to take speed on the field here. I like to put a guy down there who can just get out there and run and be an athlete and cause chaos and havoc back there. So when you look at this, we only truly have to have one true legitimate defensive lineman. If I've got a really good one here, I'll play him in a head-up 6 at the strong end. If not, I'll play him inside shade, and we're okay there too. I've got a Will linebacker and a Mike linebacker who can be pretty interchangeable. My Mike is usually my stronger guy, but against this formation, I see a lot of ISO. I might flip him, get the stronger guy on the weak side. But it just depends on what you've got going on. Game to game and week to week if you want to flip those guys. But really, their reads and keys are the same. They're very much interchangeable. And here's the important thing. These guys are all underneath the umbrella. Okay, this is an important concept. The umbrella for us is what allows us to be so consistent. These 6 are underneath the umbrella. When we talk about the umbrella principle, these 6 guys are always spill players. And a spill player means they're always going to be attacking the inside half of a running back or of a lead block to force the ball to bounce to the outside. So they never want to turn something back to the inside. These 6 always want to turn it to the outside. Okay, now we've got 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and then we've got our 5 defenders on the back end here. Our strong safety, with no number 2 receiver, he's going to be 7 yards wide, 3 yards off. I'm pretty flexible about that, but I like him wider. I don't want him to get in there tight. I want to be where that guy is coming to and meet him on the way. And so we're going to be 7 by 3, and the weak safety, usually about the same, but sometimes I'll back him off a little bit and do 5 by 5 with him. It just depends on where he's comfortable, where he can see best, and what we're having to defend. But pretty much their alignment's generally always the same, but their job is always the same. These guys are outside the umbrella. They are force players. That means that they must force a change of direction of the ball carrier, force him to either cut back inside or force him to bubble to the outside. I don't like the term contain because I found a lot of guys just saying, hey, if I get outside of him, everything's good. He goes inside of me, no big deal. We must force a change of direction. So weak safety, strong safety are always the force. And the free safety, he is the umbrella. He's the alley player. The alley is basically the spot at the tip of the umbrella. So it's between the last spill guy, whoever the last spill guy is, and whoever the force guy is. Our corners, very important that our corners stay in coverage. I remember losing a game, losing 2 games a couple of years ago because the guys who were the deep defenders came out of coverage, or the guys who were, the corners, the cover guys, they came out of that coverage, and we lost games because of that. These guys have got to stay in coverage until late, until they absolutely know the ball's crossed the line of scrimmage. They came out like a toss pass type of thing and bid on the toss and or a double pass, and it cost us a game, honestly. And so those guys have got to stay in coverage. But this is the basics of the 4-2-5 defense and of what we're going to be doing here. So now what we're going to start doing is looking at some different personnel groupings and looking at how our guys will adjust to those changes. Now let's start off here by looking at our 22 personnel set. So I'm just going to take this guy, move him in to be a tight end. So now we've got 2 backs, 2 tight ends. The rule on that, our will linebacker, anytime he sees a tight end on his side, he makes a heavy check, and that tells the weak side end to slide out into a 7. Now it also will tell our nose to slide out into a 2-eye, inside shade. We do that so that they're harder to down block. We would widen our weak safety out just because he's got an extra guy there. Depending on coverage, our corner would align however he needs to align. We usually run like a quarter, half. But that's it. Now we're aligned to 22 personnel. Okay, let's go from there. Let's take a look. Bring this guy into the backfield. Let's go 32 personnel. Notice that our umbrella is still intact. All I would do is take this corner, bring him in, probably center up our free safety. We're defending 32 personnel. We're in good shape against that. Now, could you do more things? Could I tighten these guys up? Maybe make some personnel substitutions? Absolutely. But the important thing is we're lined up in a position where all the gaps are taken care of. We're in a position where we can defend this if it just surprises, if somebody comes out in a power eye or in a wishbone. Okay? No big deal if they go to something like 31 personnel, and I guess I'd rather it be our weak side out here. 31 personnel, our end and our nose no longer have a heavy check. Our corner goes out, covers that receiver. We're still in just our normal, we're using a cover 3 shell, then it's fine. We're in 31 personnel. Same thing if we go 30. Now, this is the first time that we've looked at anything with no tight ends. So let me mention that if we have no tight ends, our strong side end slides down and plays a 5 technique, outside shade of the tackle, the same way as our weak side end does. We walk our corner out. We've got our 3 deep. Our umbrella is still intact. So all of those adjustments so far, nothing really big has changed. Now we can go to a slot formation. And I'll just go with an I. We usually see an I out of this. A slot formation. This is 20 personnel. Okay, with 20 personnel, the one thing that we do is I play our strong safety 5 yards off, 1 yard outside of a slot receiver. There are some divider rules that go with that. If this guy tries to take us out real wide, we're not going to keep going with him. But no big deal. We line up. Notice our umbrella is still intact. Still the force player, deep third, deep third, deep third in our cover 3 coverage. So we haven't changed much now. We've done 20 personnel. Let's go ahead while we're here and let's take a guy out. And I will put us in a shotgun formation because that's what we normally see in that situation. Now we've got a doubles formation. Okay, what do we do with a doubles formation? Weak safety and strong safety are basically interchangeable. 5x1 outside. Corner is off. Now, do I love being in a cover 3 shell against doubles? No, we probably play cover 1, and we could check to that. Some teams like to use an automatic where they check to a cover 1 man coverage, where we would be manned up here and here, manned up here, and the free safety with our deep third or deep help. But our umbrella is still intact. We've got our force players still out here. Everything's in good shape. We're lining up to it. We're defending it. Let's bring a tight end back in. Let's go to 11 personnel. Okay, we go to 11 personnel. Our end is head up. Our strong safety can go back to his 7x3 alignment, 7 yards wide, 3 yards off. Again, he's ready to defend that stretch play. You call your strength based on the back. Depends on what you want to do. We'll probably call it to the tight end here. We actually have a separate strength call for the front end, the front 6, and the back end. But, we're aligned to it. And again, are there some better things you could possibly do? Maybe. But do you slow your guys down if you're constantly trying to be perfect rather than just lining up and defending it? If somebody shows up in this, we can line up and defend it. This is blackboard rules of how we defend something. And then if we need to adjust to defend those guys, to defend players and defend certain plays, we do that. Okay, we had to stop to clean the board up a little bit there, but now we're looking at an ace formation, 12 personnel. We've got 1 back, 2 tight ends. I love this formation. I think it's great. But with our 4-2-5 defense, with the system we have in place, we're ready to line up and defend it, no problem. So we've got, our tight end out here. We're going to head up with our defensive end. We make a heavy check on the weak side. The nose slides out, inside shade of the guard. The end slides out, inside shade of the tight end to make it harder for them to down block us and collapse the edge. We've still got our umbrella intact. We've got our safeties there ready to force the play. Deep third players back here. And you may not love defending a potential 4 verticals in cover 3, but if you play a lot of cover 3, then you're fine. You're in great shape. You'll know how to defend it. So it's just a matter of if it's what you do. We're more of a man coverage team, so we may check it. But if you play enough cover 3, you can definitely line up and defend the potential of 4 verticals. Let's look at some things that we haven't talked about yet that you may be thinking about having to defend that are a little bit different. And one of those, move these guys around, is a trips formation. Obviously, trips can cause some different issues for different teams. I don't think it causes a major issue for us. I like to teach our guys that the number 3 receiver over here is just the number 2 moved over. So our strong safety is still aligning outside leverage of number 2. If we need to bring him in, and he does have a divider rule, then we will bring him in, but he's 5-by-1 outside leverage. We've got a quarter, half check as our automatic for this. So we go quarter, and then a deep half over here. We could either bring the weak safety off the edge or let him hang to help with pass coverage and run a cover 2 type of pass concept over here. It all depends on what you want to do, but the key is, this is what I care about more than anything else. Our umbrella is intact. Our guys are looking at the same keys, looking at the same thing they were before. They're lined up. All the gaps are covered. All the zones are covered. We're in a position to stop this team. If they just showed up and lined up in trips, we're ready to line up to it and to defend it. We don't need anything special about it. Our kids are able to line up, be confident where they're lined up, know where their eyes need to be, know how their stance needs to be, and they're able to react and defend it. Could also defend, say, a tight end trips. Doesn't cause a major problem for us. One that I get a lot of questions about, but it's really not a major issue here. We're still going to be in a quarter, half. It's a 3 receiver set. We're still outside leverage of number 2. Okay, we can either bring the weak safety or set him off. And the only thing that changes is our end moves out to his 6 or 7 technique, whichever one you want to play. All the gaps are taken care of. We know where we're going to be looking. We're ready to defend it. So no matter what you see, you're ready for it. And I'll go one more here. I don't even like to change for an empty formation. What we'll do, as much as possible, because I think if we put enough pressure on this guy, it's going to be very difficult for him to get the ball out. And most teams that we see line up in empty aren't trying to sling it all over the field. We're going to keep our umbrella intact. We're going to put all 6 of these guys on defending the quarterback and go cover 0 on the back end. And that's not an all-the-time thing, but that's our base way of playing an empty formation because it allows our umbrella to stay intact. It allows the guys closest to the ball to have the fewest changes for what they're doing. So I love this 4-2-5 defense system that we've got because our guys are ready to line up and play against literally anything that an opponent can throw at us. And there's a few little things that we haven't talked about yet, but pretty much everything that you need to defend is going to be part of our base system. And we'll make some tweaks and things like that, but this is really, truly what we do, who we are. Our kids are confident in it. They know what they need to do. Because they're confident, they're able to play fast. Fast kids win more football games. So that's it. You can absolutely get your defense aligned to anything. No matter what the offense throws at you, you're going to be ready to stop it. And that's so important if we're going to be successful. Of course, there's more to it than that. There's more to it than just getting a line. We've got to get a line. We've got to have the proper stance. We've got to have the key. We got to know where our key is at, where our eye should be. And then we have to react to our key, get our read, and carry out our assignment on each play. But we keep those things simple, keep them simple so that our kids will be able to be confident in what they're doing. Confident kids play fast. Fast kids win more football games. And it also comes down to, and always will come down to, talent as well. It's not, always the X's and O's. Like, the saying is the Jimmys and Joes are more important than the X's and O's. And that's true. That's absolutely true. But our job as coaches is to maximize the players that we have and to maximize the talent that we have on our team to get the most out of them. And that's what coaching is all about. And that's what the offensive guys are trying to do as well. They're trying to maximize their talent. They're trying to maximize the abilities of the players that they have to get the most out of them. We as defensive coaches, it's felt to me like over the last decade or so, we've been a step behind all of the adaptations that are happening on the offensive side of the ball. And it's time for us to take control, to keep a simple system where we're not always reacting to what the offense is doing, to where we're always ready for whatever the offense does to us. And we take that step back and we get a step ahead of the offensive coaches and all that they're trying to do to us. And I think that the system that we put together is something that really and truly can help you to do that. what I want to do in the next video, in a few days I'm going to send you another video. I want to show you a little bit more. I want to go a little more in depth as far as not just alignment, but I want to show you how to defend a particular offense. And it's one that our coaches have probably asked the most questions about. How to defend, how do we defend this? What do we do with it? Because it does look so different and present some different problems. And that's the wing T offense. So I'm going to show you how to defend a hard-nosed, tough, downhill running wing T offense in the next video that I'm going to send you in just a few days. Because I do honestly believe that the 4-2-5 defense, if you think the 4-2-5 defense is only for defending the spread offense, go ahead and get that out of your head. This is not. This is a defense, it's a 4-4 defense. It's the same as a 6-2 defense. It can defend absolutely anything. And like I said at the beginning, if you can imagine having a defense that can defend anything the offense can throw at you, and you do it with less practice time, and you do it with less meeting time, that's what this is going to be all about. And I'm going to show you how to take our 4-2-5 defense and attack a wing T offense in just a few days. Before that, though, I want you to scroll down to the comment section below this video, and I want you to leave me a comment. Tell me, what is it that gave your defense the biggest problem this past season? I truly want to know that. I want to hear from you, because that's going to allow me to make sure that we address those big concerns that us defensive coaches have, and the things that we need to do to make sure that we get a step ahead for next season, get a step ahead of those offensive coordinators and all the sneaky stuff that they're trying to do to us. Again, my name is Joe Daniel from footballdefense.com and from the Football Coaching Podcast, and I want you to keep an eye out for that video I'm going to be sending you in just a few days on defending the wing T offense. And go ahead and scroll down and leave a comment before you leave here about what's giving your defense the most problems this past season. Thank you very much for watching this video.